So, Chris, you have been on Sin and Steel before last year, where we explored the black metal project Dead Space. But this time I've invited you on, obviously, for your solo work because your latest EP, Desert Dreamer, was one of my favorite non-metal releases of the year. Really, one of my favorite releases of the year, but it ended up in that category. So, thank you for coming on and taking some time to chat about it.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's good to
So,
be here again.
yeah. So you have been doing your solo stuff for a while now, and it's always kind of had a little bit of that gothic edge to it, but it has been quite varied. So I'm interested in that progression in styles over the years leading up to that latest release. Can you tell us more about kind of how you've progressed to that Southern Gothic dark country style and, what has influenced that?
Yeah, it's more lifestyle that's influenced it. So it's not nothing that I do is ever like a deliberate kind of move. It's like this project's always been something that I've loved doing that I kind
Mm,
of left for like extended periods of time and come back to and sort of explored different things with it. But a big point is like getting older. Um, Basically the my definition of gothic has changed quite a
yep.
bit as well. It used to be a label that I absolutely hated, and I really didn't want to be associated with it because at the time that I was first putting things out, I was trying to, the first EP that I ever did, Bare Bones, I was trying to push
Mm,
into ballady kind of music that had a bit of a blues, a bit of a folk sort of influence, just
yep.
songs that you could kind of get behind as songs, a little bit old timey in a way. And
Yep.
when that first came out, it was very much a lot of people going on about my goth project, and it
Okay.
was, for me, it was a little bit like at the time in Australia, and it's different around the rest of the world, and maybe seeing the rest of the world open my eyes to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like in Australia, like a figure like Nick Cave would be considered like a singer songwriter in a
Yep.
way. But in Germany, Nick Cave is like the king of the Gothic music scene, So their
Wow.
idea
Okay.
of goth is a little bit more. It more embodies like just being a spiritual outlaw in a sense,
Yep.
and a lot of it is, sort of it is rooted in that like that Southern Gothic country kind of vibe. There's a lot of like kind of cowboy crossover and that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Bands like Woven Hand, David Eugene Edwards, a lot of the
Yep.
stuff I've been listening to like for quite a while now. Um, it's considered sort of gothic in a sense, but it sort of opened my eyes up to go, okay, maybe this label is trying to tell me something that I don't know about what I'm doing.
Yep.
And at the time, it felt a bit tacky. It was like I'm not like a hymn cover band, and I'm not
Yes.
playing like the 69 eyes kind of, that kind of stuff. So I don't understand whether, I was really focused on that, like that goth rock kind of thing. And I was like, I kind of don't think I'm doing that.
It's
So
probably similar to even with heavy metal, it has so many different subgenres and it's got its own subcultures within it. Anything to do with Gothic, whether it's the style, the sound, and all the different things that are associated with it. There's so many different branches of that as well. And there's the style that we immediately think of when we hear the term goth. And I can see why that would be off-putting if that's not what you're going for, because it is completely different to what you are doing. But there are so many different branches of it, like the Southern Gothic style, which I feel like I don't know, unless I'm just biased because I really like it, so I listen to a lot of Southern Gothic stuff, but I feel like it's starting to take off a little bit more, and there's more people starting to explore what that can really look like and how that crosses over into different spaces as well. But it's been really interesting to see you taking that on as well.
Yeah, I'm yet to see that, to be honest. So you're obviously in circles that I'm not. For me, it's really a solitary thing.
Yep.
Like, my wife and I, we bought this house back in Australia. And it's basically a farm, it's a hectare. We've got, 20 fruit trees that we look
Nice.
after pretty much every day. The neighbor's got this green-shouldered macaw that doesn't shut the fuck up, and sheep, and all of this stuff. So it's like it's just really kind of our lifestyle's changed so
Yeah.
much. Not just a lot of my music writing like I do outside here with an acoustic guitar. I'm not
Mm.
sitting in front of a computer laying down layers and layers of stuff anymore. That comes later. But
Yeah.
simplicity has really become like a big thing for us
Yep.
because the things that are out of our control get more complicated. Um, and yeah, like going back to that, talking about the metal trope kind of thing. I mean, it's another case in point. What I kind of realized is that whether it becomes something that's a positive or a negative, I guess that my personality is the Gothic in all of this stuff. And,
Yep.
to shut that down is a problem because, we put out Dead Space records and you go on like Encyclopedia Metallum or whatever, and it started off like people told us it was depressive black metal. So we just went, okay, that's what it is. Cool, whatever. Looked around at other bands doing it. We're like, oh, we see it. That's fine. Um, but people are still like, oh, it's black metal slash gothic slash blow. I was like, there's nothing gothic about it. When I think gothic metal, I think like, Lacuna Coil, like Nightwish, that kind of stuff. I'm like,
Yep.
there's nothing gothic about what that band is whatsoever, except maybe the attitude that comes into it. That there is this sense of decay and this sense
Mm.
of this sense of nostalgia that kind of like comes out of that music. And it's not necessarily a fashion label. And I
Yep.
guess once I started to realize that it's just my personality that people sort of take as the Gothic in everything I do. Like, for me, I was just trying to write like roots music, like I was trying to get back and write music that was folky, it was acoustic, had some blues crossover. I bought a few guitars this year. A couple of people have made instruments for me this year. They're like little
Nice.
mandolin sort of things and like
Yeah.
weird. It's not on that album. That actually the song Dreamer has this little handmade mandolin thing that a guy from Fremantle made for me. He just
Yep.
gave it to me. And yeah, like, things like that. I've got a banjo now that I, can somewhat play. And
Amazing.
it's just, yeah, it's just fun, like I enjoy making this kind of music for me, and it
Yep.
suits the lifestyle because a lot of it is unplugged. My lifestyle is very unplugged
Yep.
these days. And it's relaxing, and I like singing a lot more than I like fronting a metal band, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't do the small packed clubs and I don't do the yelling crowds so much anymore like I used to. And it doesn't mean that I won't do it. It just means that I have to reserve my energy for that a little bit. Where
Yep.
when I play this stuff, it's a bit more liberating. So the progression basically just follows that lifestyle, and it's changed how music fits for me. Like this project is not destined for commercial success, and it's not supposed to be. It
Yep.
was a little mind blowing, when people started actually paying for the albums that I'm putting up for free. And there's a reason that I do that with all my bands as well, and it's because I want the music to be discoverable for people that are in places where there's less income.
Yep.
We have a lot, especially with the black metal scene, we have a lot of fans in like, Colombia and places where, of course there's money, but it's not distributed as evenly as it is in places like Australia. And, a lot of the underdogs over there, the people that are looking for more music, and then they
Yep.
just get cut off because these record labels put big prices on digital downloads. And it's just, of course, everyone's going to turn to Spotify, but then Spotify costs money, and people seem to forget that it's not a free platform. And for some people, that's not going to work for them. So, I like to focus on free music on Bandcamp and be able to reach people, and YouTube as well. YouTube's a huge one. Most of
Yeah.
my music discovery is on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I take it
Nice.
that probably leads into what your next question will be, which is what am I listening to when, what's going
Not yet,
on.
not yet, but that's definitely something that's on the list for later
I,
on before we wrap
I thought
things
I saw
up.
your eyes light up.
No, my next question was actually going to be more in line with, so I do remember even when I spoke with you for Dead Space last year, because that was in November last year, you were already working on some of this stuff. You were telling me about starting to work on some of the Southern Gothic style music. But it sounds like from there that that's kind of like you were already working on it, but that's maybe even expanded and gone beyond what you maybe thought even at that stage.
Yeah, more or less. Basically, like to put it in a bit more perspective, a lot of these songs have been sitting around for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Not in the style that they've become, but it's because I lacked the tools to do it, you know.
Yeah.
So I've always, I played a lot of this stuff on acoustic guitar. I used to carry a notebook around with me and write in it all the time, and I don't have time for that anymore. It's
Yeah.
more I spend less time actually making music, but more quality time making it count.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, a lot of these songs are like old songs that were sort of like acoustic numbers that I've then sort of learnt how to play slide guitar. I now have a resonator.
Yeah.
I've picked up the violin again, which I haven't played since I was a kid. I found an old one at my parents' house. So
Nice.
there's a lot of like live fiddle stuff in it, which I've had to like completely learn from.
Yeah.
And the percussion is just I didn't have a drum kit when we first got here, because I sold my drum kit to a guy through my drummer Herb, who plays in multiple projects. He knew a guy that wanted a kit, so I sold it to him. And we were here for about 6 months, and Herb just called me one day and he's like, "Hey, dude, this guy's not playing drums anymore. Do you want to buy your drum kit back?" So I bought my old drum kit back. Well, I didn't buy it. My wife, I said no, I can't afford it. And my wife and my wife's mum actually went out and bought it for me as a present to get my old kit back, which
That's
was
really nice.
pretty heartwarming. So I got that back, but a lot of this stuff was recorded not on that kit.
Yeah.
So I'm playing around with a lot more percussion, and like I am a drummer by
Yeah.
trade. It was what I kind of started doing.
Yeah.
Um, playing in metal bands. But I'm also like somewhat contemporary jazz trained as well,
Yeah.
because I went to an academy to get out of school, and then they kicked me out because I was touring too much, and they said if you're not here, you can't pass a performance course.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was like a big thing too, experimenting with different percussion.
Mm.
So first time I've ever talked about this publicly, I may now have a band with this
Okay.
stuff. I'm
Yep.
working with members that everyone that's followed me for a long time will know from various projects and things like that. So we're putting it together at the moment. We're gonna have some rehearsals, see how it goes. One of them's in Melbourne.
Okay.
So basically the main songwriter that I will be working with together is in Melbourne.
Yep.
And we'll be working. He comes here about 3 times a year, and we can go there and do some stuff too. So we'll see where that goes. I don't really want to get too into announcing what's happening and all that, because if it doesn't happen, it's going to
Okay.
be disappointing. But
But
that
potentially then plans to expand on that and maybe do some live stuff.
yeah, definitely. I
Okay.
mean, I want to. It's not that I'm like thirsting to do it per se. I mean, I'm a pretty quiet, reserved sort of person, but it's more that I'd love to give it a shot, and I'm hoping that it kind of reignites a bit of a spark that has been kind of sitting on and off. Like
Yep.
that's the best way to put it. The black metal stuff, it's on and off. Sometimes I'm really keen for it, and sometimes I'm not. And people will notice that Dead Space especially has lacked a bit of consistency, although that what we do in terms of when we do it well.
Mm.
And that's basically our idea of not biting off more than we can chew, being a
Yeah.
band from Perth, especially getting worn out again. Like, that's why we broke up the first time. We were worn out. So,
Yeah.
with this project, it's more happy go lucky. Like all of my projects, the music is the most important thing. And
Yeah.
I'll keep writing, and I'll try and work with these other people and see how we go. I don't usually play nice with other children. I'm a bit of a weird person like that. But I got some people I really trust, but not
Yep.
just musically, but intrinsically as well.
I
Like I know
imagine
that
part of that is I get the vibe from you based on not only the discussions previously about Dead Space, but also I've seen some of your paintings and you've got all these different different creative outlets, I get the vibe that that's just that artist side of you going, I've got these visions I want to get done. So if you're not teamed up with the right people, then it's going to make it harder to kind of create what you want to create.
Yeah, yeah, somewhat. And it's like never a personal thing either, but
Yeah.
like sometimes it's a matter of vision. Sometimes it's a complete matter of just ADHD.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I
Yep.
just I
Can
need
relate.
when something's going to come together and I see it coming together, it's got to come together. And
Yep.
working with other people, I mean, I'm busy, so I make it work in my schedule. So I also understand how busy other people are too. And, other people get busy and then they're like, oh, I'll get back to you. And, when I
Yep.
can. And sometimes the magic's just there and it's got to
Yeah.
happen. And then what happens is the guilt because you feel like you got all these people that are meant to be involved and then you've sort of like you've cut them off and you've just kind of denied them access because you needed something done
Yeah.
when magic was there. Which I've never really worked with anyone that has a problem with that, but it rests on my conscience a little bit sometimes that that the last time I tried to do a band where everybody contributed, it didn't make me happy.
Yeah. Okay.
Like contributed like pretty much like I brought skeleton songs to people and then things were like added at will and there was no quality control and
Yep.
stuff like that. And very successful. I'm not going to name the record, but very successful record, but very hard to get out of the shadow of. It was
Yep.
very, very difficult. And I wouldn't want to be stuck in something that's not really me again.
That's
Um,
fair.
so and that's really the problem is like when you put music out to you it's like you put the music out, it serves its purpose, you move on, but you can't expect fans or the people listening to songs that they really connect to just move on onto the next idea that you have if they like the other one better, and that's
Yep.
more than fine. But and that's why music exists eternally. But for me it's like by the time I'm done putting out a record, I generally don't want to listen to those songs again. I want to move on. And
Yep.
the touring circuit thing makes that harder. But I'm hoping that with these songs, because there's a lot more. Oh, we just got rain. Okay. Interesting. It was 41 degrees yesterday.
Yep.
So basically, like I I'm hoping that with this one that the songs can be delivered in so many different ways that it's always fresh,
Yep.
like different instrumentation. Maybe the person playing drums at the time goes, look, I'm not going to take a drum kit, I'm going to take like a cajon or something, and let's do something else. So
Mm.
we strip it back, and different venues have different um appropriate volumes and textures and things like that. So
Yep.
hoping that breathes a little bit more life into like playing older songs.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
what I'm excited about because with black metal, you record the song how it's supposed to be live. It's a very live genre, and you deliver it how that's delivered. So
Yep.
you want it to be as heavy and as punchy, and you might add an intro or an outro somewhere, but you want people to feel that live version of that track. So you play
Yep.
it pretty much as mathematically perfect as you can every night. Only the singer really gets a lot of expression unless there's guitar solos and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is meant to be a little bit more organic, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory way against metal as well, because obviously the way that metal comes together is very organic a lot of the time. But it's more the endless possibilities of delivery that I'm hoping are going to change things for me a bit.
Yep. Yep. I mean, looking at it so far, there's even there's diversity in. So you did release a few singles before you did the EP, which the singles were quite different from what came out in the EP, but I was curious if that was the reason that those were done separately or why you kind of did it that way.
It depends what singles you're talking about. So I released I've released stuff like way back in the day, which was just I had a song, I put
Well, you
something out.
released like, was it three different singles this year though, outside
Um,
of the EP
oh,
itself?
okay, so on Spotify I put them up as singles
Yeah.
because I just wanted to scatter them a little bit.
Yep. Okay.
Um, and they're not uniformly like a record.
Yeah.
It is 5 songs, that I then released on Bandcamp as an EP. So there were two EPs in a way out this year.
Okay.
But the two EPs were recorded as an album. So I've had the masters for the Desert Dreamer slash the other EP together as a record. I
Okay.
recorded them together. I've had them since January this year, and I've just
Yep.
sat on them.
So I
Um,
listened to it as just the Desert Dreamer. I didn't listen to it as with the other singles, and then I've only seen those kind of done separately. However, it did make sense to me when I listened to them because those three on Desert Dreamer um, seem to flow really well together and work as
yeah,
a grouping.
it was an afterthought, right? So I wrote it as a record. I was going to come out with a full length record
Yep.
as as a statement and do it like that. I had it mastered by a guy called Simon Struthers at Forensic Audio, who does really nice work. And he mentioned when he gave it to me that he didn't think that he said that there's a considerable amount of complexity and depth in the last three tracks, particularly while mastering.
Yep.
And he did his best to make them fit together. But he said that there's definitely another layer of like mysticism going on in the third track. Now, I also sent it to a good friend of mine, Sam Dishington in Tasmania, who does a lot of experimental music and fronts metal bands as well. A lot of people on here will know him, and he's mentioned the same thing. And I started going, oh fuck. And then so I sat on them since January, and I realized that they were really in effect coming from two different places.
Mm.
And that album, you can tell if you know that the Desert Dreamer stuff was actually written as the end part of that album, which no one knows, but now they do. You can tell that I've written that record chronologically. It's gone from the first song was the first song I wrote, the last song was the last song I wrote, and
Yep.
that's exactly how it was written and put together. I like to do it like that because it reflects the journey.
Yep.
But I was getting more weird and more comfortable and more experimental with the last three songs.
Yep.
Sent it to a few labels and stuff as well, and the labels all said the same thing. The last three songs are insane, and the first songs are really nice, but it doesn't fit their vision. A lot of doomy sort of labels and things like that. That people I have contact with. I don't have a lot of contact in this roots music kind of
Yep.
acoustic kind of scene at all. So I just sent it out, just putting the feelers out, and the unanimous opinion. And me being a rebel, just going, nah, it's an album, go away. After listening to it for 6 months on and off, I kind of came to the same conclusion, and I was like, wow, this is the first time I've ever given anything the time to breathe and kind of educate me on what it is.
Yep.
And the first five songs are quite personal. There's a bit of storytelling in there.
Yep.
There's songs about family. There's songs about aging. Songs about loss and those sort of things that we all deal with. And then, the last three songs, there was a concept that was developing that was meant to, the album was meant to be called Great Southern Gothic. It was going to be like just a big statement of everything mixed together. And I backed off that idea because I was like, there's another story here.
Mm.
And, it's written in there. And then one day I got bored and I started carving the album artwork into wood and
Yep.
just working out what it meant. I was looking at a lot of Gnostic sort of symbolism and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty complicated, done bit by bit, and then basically took photos of it, filled it in with gold kind of
Yeah.
embossing and stuff. It all came together like really randomly in about a couple of hours.
Yep.
And I was like, that's the story. That picture is the story. And we used more of my personality in the personal. Like my wife and I, we go traveling, and she's a keen photographer. She takes really great shots, and
Yep.
I wouldn't really trust anyone else really kind of capturing my personality, because she's the only one that knows my personality
Yeah.
more than I do, so she brings things out of me that I don't even see.
That's really
I
nice
just
to have.
I just sing and yell at the sky and hope that things work out. But she can sort of understand how it all ties together into like the bigger picture of me and us and where we are and time and place and all those sort of things. So,
Yep.
you know, yeah, we use that kind of imagery for the first one, and we deliberately didn't, put any text on it or anything. We just posted photos because it felt like, it felt like an album, a photo album more than it
Yep.
felt like an EP. So I don't know if that clears that up a little bit, but
Yeah, no, I think that's great. You've
but
covered so many different things. Honestly, I had a list of questions. I don't need to ask any of them because you've touched on every single thing that was on
okay, that's cool.
there. But look, there was that one last thing before we do kind of finish up, and that is, of course, because this is the end of year wrap up. I would love to know just a little bit about some of your favorite releases for the year.
Okay, this is the one I was dreading because I haven't really gotten into a lot this year, to be honest.
Yep.
There's not much that's come out that's really hit me, and I'm still stuck on a few years ago.
Yep.
One record that was really cool, but it's not related so much to this project, but maybe some of the attitudes related to this project is there's a black metal band called Devarza.
Okay.
They released the new record. It's really raw, primal, dirgy kind of black metal stuff.
Yep.
And there's something about them, like an aura. Like you listen to the music, if you're a big music buff and you listen to it, you're like, so, you know, it's just old school black metal. There's not
Yep.
much special, like my wife took me to see them live in Belgium, and
Nice.
there's something about them that it goes beyond music. The way that they come together, it's very live sounding, very raw sounding. I thought
Yep.
that record was just a good natural progression into what they were doing. And it's on par with everything else that they do, and I think that that's really cool. Might not be absolutely like mind melting for people that are into more technical black metal, but there's a certain magic that is in that whole band and the way that they come together and play. So that was one that I did dig. I haven't listened to all of it yet, to be
Yep.
honest. I've listened to quite a bit of it, as the singles were coming out.
Nice.
The Dax record was insane.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered that the moment it came out, so I almost consider that 2024 because I was ready to go. Like, I mean, it was like Christmas last year or something that he announced that it was
Yep.
going to be coming out, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
But the grapevine, I've got some friends that are friends with Dax in the United States, and obviously from touring with Goat Whore and things like that through through years and years of playing black metal, I was a little bit aware that Acid Bath were sort of talking and that Dax was kind of behind the wheel again.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that. Completely blew my mind.
It's a great album. That's it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
my number one. You've come in second place to
same really.
Dax.
But I mean, yeah, I didn't want to echo your ghosts too much, but
That's okay.
that was just amazing.
Yeah.
And apparently there's more coming, so I'm pretty
Fuck
excited.
yeah.
That came from his mouth. He reckons that there's about 2 or 3 more records written that he's just got to get together.
That'll be awesome.
I hate to be this guy, but let's hope that Acid Bath slows down enough again that he can kind of get behind that, because
Let them come to Australia first, please, and then they can
yeah,
sit down. Come and visit Australia first, because I've listened to them since I was like 13 years old, and I've never gotten to see them clearly. So
yeah.
let them come to Australia first, and then they can go off and, and
Have you
do what
seen
they want.
any of the live festival stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
They sound so good now. It's like they needed that break.
Yeah.
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 So
So
yeah.
so after that, they need to come and do that, and then they can go off and we can, yeah. But I don't know, maybe they can do that and Dax can do some solo shows too while he's at it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That'll
I
be
mean,
sick.
if anyone watching this knows anything else that's come out this year that they think that I'd really like, you're welcome to send me a message on Instagram or Facebook and show me, because I'm not always told what's coming out. As I said, we live on this sort of farm property and lay pretty low, so I'm
Yeah.
not as in the scene as I used to be. So if anyone knows anything worth checking out, I'm also one of those people. I got a lot of friends that will send me music links, and
Yeah.
whether it's like a project that I'm really behind or not, like I'm one of those people that for me, being a musician is about clicking those fucking links, you know. And if you're someone that gets links from someone trying to share you something or get an opinion or ask for help or whatever, and you're too busy to sit down for 5 minutes and click on the fucking link, it drives me nuts, you know. So if anyone has music that they think that
Yep.
I need to hear, regardless of what it is, send it to me, because I actually do check things out.
Nice.
When they're sent to me, it's something I do. I have an allotted time, you know, every couple of days or something, where I'll sit down and I'll check out what people are doing and what people are, you know. A lot of people also asking for mix advice and things like that. Like I'm on it. So,
Well,
you know,
hopefully
that's,
you get inundated with new music to listen to once this goes
yeah,
live.
yeah. It's not a matter, what I'm saying is, it's not a matter of being deliberately closed off. It's
Yeah.
just how life is. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But look, thank you again for jumping on today. It's been really great chatting. And look, I think you've done a killer job on the release, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Cool. Thanks, Sarah.